The alien envoy's smile never reached his eyes. From the dauntless command deck, Captain Elias Veron watched the broadcasted summit unfold across the holoscreen. A Xerathi diplomat, scales catching the sterile light, extended a clawed hand toward Earth's delegation. The words came in careful Terran standard, each syllable hissed with precision. "Peace," the envoy declared, bowing theatrically. "At last, your species has found its place among the stars." Polite applause filled the chamber. The humans, dressed in ceremonial navy coats and polished metals, looked genuinely awed. The aliens, tall, angular, every movement sharp, oozed confidence. Elias leaned back in his chair, arms folded. To most it looked like the dawn of an era. To him it looked like the start of a hunt. Predators didn't grin unless they were certain of the kill. Captain, his executive officer, Commander Riva, broke the silence. She was young, keen-eyed, a believer in humanity's potential, but pragmatic enough to catch his mood. "You don't look impressed." "They're too polished," Elias murmured. "They've studied us, our language, our symbols. Every move is calculated. Tell me, does that smile look genuine to you?" Riva hesitated, then shook her head. "It looks rehearsed." Elias tapped the armrest, eyes never leaving the holoscreen. The Dominion's representatives moved with military precision, even during a performance of friendship. The envoy's guards stood like statues, but Elias caught the subtle twitch of clawed fingers. The faint shimmer concealed weapons beneath ceremonial robes. The humans in the chamber didn't see it, or didn't want to. The scene shifted to an orbital window overlooking the Vera system. Vast starfields punctuated by gleaming Dominion warships. The official line called them escorts. To Elias, they were wolves circling a pen. Down below, Earth's representatives exchanged gifts with the Xerathi, shards of Dominion crystal for a Terran flag, shared handshakes and mutual bows. Politicians grinned for the cameras. Commentators whispered of trade routes, technological miracles, cultural exchanges. The mood on Earth was ecstatic. At last, humanity had joined the galactic community. But Elias had lived through enough border skirmishes to know what false peace looked like. "Mark my words, Riva," he said softly. "They're not welcoming us. They're measuring us." Her brow furrowed. "If you're right, shouldn't High Command see it too?" "They see what they want to see," Elias replied, tone bitter. "We're desperate to belong, so we blind ourselves to the cost." The holofeed ended with a triumphant flourish of anthems, Dominion symbols shimmering alongside Earth's flag. The chamber erupted in cheers. On the Dauntless, silence stretched. Finally, Riva spoke. "You think this peace won't last?" Elias's jaw tightened. "It's not peace. It's preparation." That night, in his quarters, Elias replayed the broadcast alone. He slowed frames, zoomed on the envoy's eyes. Cold, predatory. The gaze wasn't one of friendship. It was calculation, like a surgeon studying an organ before cutting. A soft chime interrupted. "Captain!" The calm buzzed with Riva's voice. "Orbital Control just sent updated Dominion fleet charts. Thought you want to see." He pulled the data up on his display. His stomach sank. The number of Dominion ships in system had quietly doubled since the summit began. Their formations were wrong for escort duty, too tight, too coordinated. Not guards, strike groups. Elias rubbed his temples. If he submitted this to High Command, they'd dismiss it as paranoia. Earth wanted peace too badly. They'd label him alarmist, maybe worse. But the truth stared at him from the tactical overlay. The Dominion wasn't showing its hand yet. It didn't have to. The next morning, Elias stood again on the command deck. Crew bustled quietly, their confidence reflecting the atmosphere on Earth. News feeds spoke of prosperity, of new markets, of humanity stepping boldly into its destiny. But when Riva approached with her morning report, Elias kept his voice low. "Watch the patrol patterns. They're not random. They're rehearsing." Riva studied him, then the displays. She didn't argue. She just nodded once. A faint vibration rippled through the deck as the Dauntless adjusted orbit. Elias placed a hand on the railing, steadying himself. Out there, behind that false serenity, warships prowled unseen. "Peace," he thought grimly, was only the first act of conquest. Later, in the mess, officers gathered around steaming trays, their voices bright with optimism. Talk of Dominion trade routes, alien wonders, cultural exchanges filled the air. Someone mentioned that Earth might see Dominion starports within a decade. Elias sat apart listening, saying nothing. He didn't have the heart to sour their hope. But every word, every dream, tasted bitter to him. When Reva finally joined him at his table, she whispered, "I looked deeper into those fleet charts. You're right. They're practicing blockades." Elias didn't smile. "It won't be long now." She frowned. "What do we do?" "We prepare," he said. His voice was calm, but the steel beneath it made her sit straighter. "Because when the mast drops, we'll be the first ones in their sights." The holoscreens lit up again that evening with another broadcast from the summit. The Dominion envoy, still smiling, declared a future of cooperation. Applause thundered through the chamber. Elias stood at the back of the command deck, arms folded, expression unreadable. He had no proof to give Earth's leaders that would sway them, no way to stop the tide of optimism sweeping the planet. All he had was instinct sharpened by years of war. And instinct told him this peace was a cage. The Dominion had not invited humanity to the stars. They had invited them to dinner. The first strike came without warning. One moment, the Terran colonies in the Kepler Reach broadcast their usual morning reports, shipping manifests, family messages, weather updates, and the next, silence. Then came the distress calls, ragged and cut short by static. On the Dauntless, the bridge erupted with overlapping voices. Operators shouted coordinates. Feeds flickered with burning cities, orbital habitats crumbling, civilians screaming as Dominion cruisers unleashed disciplined volleys. Multiple colonies hit simultaneously. The comms officer barked. Kepler, Arcadia, Solstice, every outer settlement. Commander Reva's face blanched. "They're hitting all at once? That's not a raid, it's an invasion." Captain Elias Veron stood at the center of the chaos. Jaw set. He had known this was coming, but the scale still staggered him. This wasn't a punitive strike. It was extermination with surgical precision. "Patch through what's left of Kepler Station," he ordered. A hollow sprang up, flickering, half-corrupted. A Terran officer, blood streaked down her temple, screamed over the thunder of collapsing bulkheads. "This is Kepler. Dominion ships in orbit. They're—" Static swallowed her words. Then a burst of light filled the screen, and the signal died. The silence that followed was heavier than any explosion. "Give me high command," Elias said. His voice was calm, but his fists clenched at his sides. The line connected minutes later. A weary-looking admiral filled the display, sweat shining on his brow. Behind him, H scrambled in and out of frame. "Veron," the admiral said quickly, "listen to me. You are not to engage. Do you understand? Pull back into the rim. Preserve your ship." "Sir, people are dying," Elias snapped. "We have weapons, stealth systems." "You don't understand," the admiral cut him off. "This isn't about one ship. The Dominion has already overrun 3 sectors. We can't stop them head on. If Dauntless engages now, you'll be destroyed before you fire a shot. We need assets like yours intact. Withdraw. That's an order." The channel closed before Elias could argue. He stared at the blank screen, jaw locked. Around him, the bridge crew waited, the weight of the order pressing on them all. Finally, Reva spoke. Her voice was quiet but firm. "He's right, Captain. If we attack now, we're a torch in a hurricane. We'll burn bright, then vanish." Elias exhaled slowly, forcing down the fury that burned in his chest. "Plot course of the rim," he said. His tone carried no weakness, only steel. "But mark me, this is a retreat. This is regrouping." The days that followed were a blur of grim reports. Arcadia's orbital rings shattered. Its population herded into Dominion transports. Solstice burned, its atmosphere black with smoke visible from orbit. Families were torn apart, children dragged in chains. Elias reviewed the intercepted transmissions late into the nights. Dominion officers spoke with cold efficiency, referring to humans as labor stock. Soldiers laughed about Earth's naivete, about how easy it had been to gain their trust before the slaughter. And then came a transmission that made Elias's blood run colder than the rest. The Dominion Supreme Commander, High Stratego Zyrak, addressed his fleet in a booming, guttural voice. The Terrans believed our lies. They walked willingly into chains. Now their worlds burn, and soon their home world will kneel. They are weak, fragmented, prey pretending at sovereignty. By my command, their resistance will be shattered. Their people will serve. Their legacy will be dust. The feed cut. Reva sat beside Elias in the dim light of the strategy room, her face pale. He means every word. Elias leaned forward, eyes hard. Then he's made a mistake. He thinks we're finished. He doesn't know us. A week later, the Dauntless slipped through the shadowed edges of the rim, her stealth systems humming. Supplies were stretched thin, morale thinner. But every soul aboard carried the same ember defiance. In the mess, soldiers whisper about lost families, destroyed homes. A young ensign clutched the hollow of his sister, missing since Arcadia. Another cursed under his breath, vowing vengeance. Elias entered quietly, listened for a while. When he finally spoke, his words carried like steel through smoke. They think we're broken. They think we'll accept chains. But we are Terrans. We adapt, we endure, and we fight. Make no mistake, we are not prey. We are the hunters who've been pushed too far. The crew rose, fists slamming tables, voices shouting agreement. The ember of defiance became a flame. That night, Elias stood alone at the viewport. The stars stretched endless, cold and silent. Somewhere among them, Earth itself stood vulnerable, the Dominion closing in. He pressed a hand to the glass, whispered to no one but the void. You want a war, Zyrak? You'll have one, but it won't be the kind you think. By the next cycle, a priority transmission arrived from what remained of High Command. The Admiral's face looked older, weighed down by exhaustion. Veyron, we've lost more ground, but there's something you need to know. Our engineers finished the stealth project you tested. You're not the only ship anymore. We have others, but scattered, hidden. You are to strike, when and where it hurts most. This war isn't over. It's just begun. Elias's lips curved in the faintest ghost of a smile. For the first time since the invasion began, he felt the tide shift, not in victory, but in possibility. The Dominion had bared its fangs. Now humanity would bear its own. The Dauntless drifted in the shadow of a barren moon, her hull dark, every system running at minimal output. From a distance, she was nothing more than a shard of rock among thousands. Inside, tension pulsed like a second heartbeat. Captain Elias Veyron stood before the tactical display in the war room. The Dominion convoy markers glowed faintly. 3 heavy freighters, 2 frigate escorts. Enough supplies to feed an occupation fleet for weeks. We hit this convoy, Elias said, his voice steady, and we prove humanity isn't finished. We strike, we vanish, and we make them bleed. His officers exchanged uneasy glances. Commander Reva leaned forward, fingers tightening on the table's edge. If we're seen, we won't last 5 minutes. Their escorts are twice our weight. We won't be seen, Elias replied. His eyes swept across the crew. That's our advantage. The cloak isn't just a trick. It's survival. They don't know we have it, and we'll make sure they never forget once they do. The room fell quiet. One by one, heads nodded. Fear remained, but beneath it burned something sharper. Resolve. In the engine bay, technicians moved with disciplined speed, whispering in clipped tones. The stealth generator hummed like a living thing, its pulse matching the nervous beat of every soul aboard. Chief Engineer Dalton wiped his hands, grease streaking his jaw. This thing's held together with spit and prayers, he muttered, then glanced at Elias. But she'll hold when it counts. She has to, Elias said. Dalton gave a grim smile. Then she will. Hours later, the Dauntless slipped free of the moon's shadow, vanishing into open space. The cloak shimmered once, then bent the ship into near invisibility. Convoy ahead, Reva reported, eyes locked on her console. Distance, 20,000 clicks. Escorts flying tight formation. Hold position, Elias ordered, His voice dropped to a near whisper, though everyone could hear him clearly. Let them think the void is empty. Through the viewport, the Dominion ships glided with mechanical precision. The freighters were hulking slabs of steel, armored against micrometeors, their escorts sleek and predatory. Their confidence radiated in every movement. "Bring us in slow," Elias said. "Match their vector. Keep us under their belly." The Dauntless crept closer, unseen, her engines whispering against a void. Crew members held their breath, as though even sound might betray them. At 5,000 clicks, Elias gave the order. "Target lead freighter. All forward batteries. Fire on my mark." Time stretched. The Dominion ships loomed larger, unaware of the predator in their midst. "Now!" The cloak dropped. The Dauntless roared to life, batteries unleashing lances of blue-white fire. The lead freighter's hull buckled, plasma ripping through cargo bays. Explosions bloomed like dying stars. "Direct hit." Reva shouted. "Recloak." Elias snapped. The ship vanished before the escorts could respond. The Dominion frigate spun in frantic arcs, weapons firing blindly into the void. Their comms burst across the channel in guttural, panicked tones. Where did it come from? Impossible! No ship was there. "Find it! Find it!" From the shadows, the Dauntless struck again. A second volley ripped into the second freighter. Containers burst open, scattering debris and bodies into the black. "Enemy formation breaking," Reva reported, voice taut with adrenaline. The Dominion escorts tried to regroup, shields flaring under friendly fire as they overcompensated. They were disciplined, but discipline faltered when faced with ghosts. Elias's voice cut through the tension. "Take the last freighter. Leave their escorts to scream." The final volley tore through the convoy. Within minutes, the Dominion's lifeline was reduced to wreckage. Convoy destroyed, Reva breathed. Silence hung for a moment, broken only by the crackle of damaged Dominion comms. Then a sound rose in the Dauntless. Laughter. Harsh, relieved, almost disbelieving. "We did it," an ensign whispered. "By God, we did it." Elias let the moment linger, then raised his hand. The laughter stilled, leaving only the steady hum of the ship. "Remember this feeling," he said. His voice was iron wrapped in fire. "Not because we won today, but because this is proof. Proof they can bleed. Proof we are not finished. And proof they will never forget the name Terran." Cheers erupted, this time unrestrained. The spark had caught. Far away, on the bridge of Dominion Dreadnought, High Stratego Zyrak listened to reports with growing fury. 3 freighters lost? 2 escorts crippled? His voice lashed across the chamber. To what? A phantom? The officer before him knelt low, claws scraping the deck. Stratego's sensors confirmed nothing. No ship was present. The convoy was struck by shadows. Zyrak's eyes narrowed, burning with hatred. Humans? It can only be them. He slammed a clawed hand against the console, leaving deep gouges. They dare humiliate the Dominion? They dare strike from the dark like scavengers? I will burn their homeworld to ash. I will tear their species from history. His voice dropped to a lethal whisper. But first, I will catch their ghosts. Back aboard the Dauntless, the crew celebrated quietly in the mess. The victory was small compared to the scale of the war, but its weight was immeasurable. Ensign Carter clutched a dented flask, raising it high. "For Arcadia," he said. His voice shook, but his grip was steady. Others lifted their cups, voices joining. "For Arcadia." Elias stood at the edge, watching. He felt the pride, the relief, but also the burden. Every success meant sharper retaliation. The Dominion would not take humiliation lightly. Reeve approached, lowering her voice. "They'll come for us now." "They already were," Elias said. His gaze returned to the stars beyond the viewport. "Now, they'll just be louder about it." She studied him a moment. "You think they'll adapt?" "They will," Elias admitted. "But so will we." Later, alone in his quarters, Elias replayed fragments of the battle. Every strike, every maneuver burned into his mind. The Dominion wasn't invincible. They had weaknesses, arrogance, rigidity, the assumption that humans were prey. He opened a private log, his words quiet in the stillness. Day 1 of the counterstrike. The Dominion bleeds. They don't know how, and that terrifies them. We are outnumbered, outgunned, but not outwilled. This war has only begun, and it will be written not in their victories, but in ours. He paused and added, let the galaxy watch. Let them whisper of a Terran warship that comes from nowhere. Let them fear the shadows. The log sealed with a soft chime. Elias leaned back, closing his eyes for the first time in days. Outside, the Dauntless floated silent and invisible, a phantom in the void. The spark had been lit, and soon it would set the galaxy ablaze. The Dauntless drifted along the edge of a shattered asteroid belt, her cloak wrapped tight around her hull. To anyone scanning the sector, the space seemed empty, but Elias knew better. Emptiness was often the best disguise. On the main display, a Dominion fleet marker pulsed. 5 ships, 2 heavy cruisers, 3 frigates, escorting what appeared to be a resource hauler. The perfect target. Too perfect. Commander Riva leaned over the console. They're broadcasting civilian codes. But look at that formation. Escorts are tighter than convoy standard. That's no hauler, Captain. It's bait. Elias nodded slowly, eyes narrowing. Zyrak's learning. He wants us to bite. And if we don't, she asked, then he wins without firing a shot. We can't let him box us in. Elias's jaw tightened. We take the risk, but on our terms. The war room buzzed as crew members studied the holographic fleet layout. Dalton frowned at the stealth generator readouts. The cloak won't last through a full engagement, not with their sensor nets humming. We'll get maybe 15 minutes of invisibility before the strain fries the core. 15 minutes will have to do, Elias said. Weapons officer Hale cracked his knuckles. That's more than enough time to ruin someone's day. Elias turned to the room. We strike fast, we strike smart. We cut their leash and disappear before they know what gutted them. Minutes later, the Dauntless eased into the kill zone, cloak bending the stars around her. The Dominion formation grew larger on the display, their predator's patience evident in every slow, deliberate maneuver. Target locked, Hale whispered. Hold, Elias said. His pulse hammered, but his voice stayed steady. Timing would decide life or death. At 5,000 clicks, the Dominion ships shifted slightly, opening their formation, inviting a strike. They want us to take the hauler, Riva murmured, which is why we hit the cruiser. Elias said, fire on my mark. The cloak flickered away as the Dauntless bared her teeth. Plasma cannons blazed, slamming into the lead cruiser. Shield shattered. Hull plating peeled away in molten streams. Direct hit, Hale shouted. Recloak, Elias ordered. The ship vanished again, slipping into shadow. The Dominion fleet erupted in chaos. Comms burst with clipped, guttural commands as escorts broke formation, weapons flaring at phantom contacts. 15 minutes, Dalton warned, and the cloak's running hot. The Dominion commander's voice echoed across intercepted channels. Cold, measured, and unmistakable, Zyrak himself. Do not panic. The prey is near. They cannot run forever. On the display, the hauler jettisoned its cargo containers. They cracked open to reveal swarms of drones, sensor webs designed to sweep the void. Damn it! Riva cursed. He's flooding the sector. Elias leaned forward, eyes locked on the hologram. Stay between the drones. Thread the needle. Bring us around on the second cruiser. The Dauntless slid through the shifting net, her crew holding their breath as drones passed within meters of the hull. Target in sight, Hale said, voice tight. Fire, Elias commanded. The second cruiser buckled under the assault, its reactor flaring into a sun-bright bloom before ripping the ship apart. The blast lit the asteroid belt, casting jagged shadows across the void. 2 down, Hale said, threading through his words. But the cloak sputtered, the stealth generator keening under the strain. Sparks danced across Dalton's console. Cores overloading. Dalton shouted, I can't hold it much longer. Do what you can. Elias said, we're not done yet. The Dauntless flickered back into visibility. Dominion frigates swung around instantly, cannons flaring, shields failing. Riva cried as the ship shuddered under the impact. Evasive, Elias barked. The ship twisted to the hail of fire, slipping between bursts of plasma that scorched empty space. One shot clipped the starboard hull, tearing open a gash. Console sparked, alarms blared. A crewman was thrown from his station, blood streaking across the floor. Elias gripped the armrest until his knuckles whitened. Return fire. Make them bleed for every shot. The Dauntless spat plasma and missiles, crippling one frigate and scattering the others. But the price was mounting. Dalton's voice cracked over the comm. "Cloak is dead, Captain. Burned out completely." The bridge went still. No Cloak meant no escape. Elias's mind raced. Zyrak had forced the kill box shut. The Dominion commander was hunting him like an animal. But even predators could overreach. "Faint retreat," Elias said suddenly. "Plot a jump vector. Make it look desperate." Riva hesitated. "And when they chase?" "Then we turn and gut their flagship." Her eyes widened. "That's suicide. Only if we miss." The Dauntless angle hard, engines flaring as though fleeing. The Dominion ship surged after her, Zyrak's voice echoing across comms. "Do not let them escape. Drive them to the abyss." The hauler's bulk shifted, revealing its true form, a heavily armored command ship. Zyrak had hidden inside the bait. "Target locked," Riva whispered, horror and awe blending in her tone. Elias stood tall, calm against the chaos. "All batteries. All torpedoes. Focus fire on that command ship." The Dauntless spun on her axis, revealing her full arsenal. Every cannon, every missile, every weapon unleashed in a single devastating volley. Explosions crawled across Zyrak's hull, tearing open decks, venting fire and bodies into the void. The Dominion flagship reeled, its arrogance turned into raw panic. On the comm, Zyrak roared in fury. "Human, I will—" The transmission cut off as a final torpedo slammed into the command tower. The flagship shuddered, crippled, fire blooming across its spine. Enemy flagship disabled. Hale said, breathless. The Dauntless floated among the wreckage, her hull scorched, her cloak dead, her crew bloodied. But she still lived. Elias exhaled slowly, his voice steady despite the storm around him. "Signal, all hands. Damage control immediately. And let every Dominion frequency hear us." He switched channels, his words ringing cold and clear. "You thought us prey. You thought we would run. But humanity does not run. We hunt." Far away, battered and bleeding, Zyrak pulled himself from the wreckage of his command chamber. Rage burned hotter than his wounds. "Find that ship," he snarled to the surviving officers. "I don't care what it takes. That human will not live to see another sunrise." But beneath his fury, for the first time, a shadow of doubt stirred. The Dauntless limped through the wreckage field, her hull scarred and bleeding sparks into the void. Fires burned on lower decks, and damage control teams moved in frantic silence. Every corridor smelled of ozone and scorched metal. On the bridge, the crew worked without pause. Screens flickered. Warning klaxons pulsed a constant reminder that survival hung by a thread. Yet Elias stood tall at the center, his gaze locked on the display of the crippled Dominion flagship. The beast was wounded but not dead. The massive vessel drifted, its spine broken, but weapons still flickered alive across its hull. And inside, Elias knew Zyrak still breathed. Riva spoke first, her tone measured but grim. "We should withdraw. Our cloak is gone. Shields are barely holding." Another salvo from them, and Elias cut her off gently but firmly. "If we leave now, Zyrak survives. He rallies his fleet. This war never ends." Silence gripped the bridge. Everyone knew he was right. Hale leaned forward at the weapons console. "Then we finish him." The Dominion flagship twitched back to life, engines flaring, turning its massive frame like a predator shaking off wounds. Across comms, Zyrak's voice thundered. "Terran vermin, you believe you have won? I will grind your world to dust. Your courage is nothing against the Dominion. Elias activated the comm channel, his voice steady, almost calm. You've already lost, Zyrak. Every ship we strike, every freighter we burn, your empire bleeds. Today, it ends with you. Zyrak's laugh was a guttural snarl. You are prey human. You only delay the inevitable. Elias cut the line. Riva, plot a direct assault course. Hail, load everything we have left. The crew exchanged looks, tension etched into every face. Then one by one, they nodded. The Dauntless surged forward, her engines groaning but steady. Plasma cannons warmed. Missile tubes reloaded with the last of their payloads. The Dominion flagship opened fire, the void filling with lances of emerald energy. The Dauntless twisted through the storm, hull plating seared, shields collapsing under each strike. Forward shields gone. Riva called out. Hold steady, Elias said, his eyes unblinking. Stay on course. The ship shuddered violently as another barrage clipped the port side, tearing through bulkheads. A console exploded, throwing an ensign to floor. Medics rushed in, dragging him clear. Dalton's voice cut through the chaos. Engines can't take much more, Captain. They don't have to, Elias replied. Just enough to get us there. The Dauntless closed the distance. Weapons roared, hammering at the Dominion hull. The flagship answered with fury, each blast shaking the Terran ship like a rag doll. On the main screen, the Dominion vessel loomed larger, its command tower a jagged silhouette against the stars. This is it, Elias said quietly. Hail, target their bridge. Hale's hands moved with precision. Locked. Fire. Missiles streaked across the void, slamming into the flagship's command tower. Explosions ripped through decks, fire spilling from gaping wounds. The Dominion's guns faltered. Zyrak's voice returned ragged, enraged. Cowards! You cannot. The transmission dissolved into static as another blast tore through the tower. But the Dominion flagship refused to die. Its main cannon flickered, charging one final burst. Impact in 5 seconds. Riva shouted. The Dauntless could not evade. Elias clenched his fists, braced for impact. The blast struck, ripping through the Terran ship. Alarm screamed. Bulkheads gave way. A fireball swept across engineering, consuming 2 crew members in an instant. Dalton's voice came through hoarse, half-choked. Engines are gone. We got nothing left. The bridge fell silent, except for the hiss of damaged systems. Elias closed his eyes for a fraction of a heartbeat. Then his voice came firm, unyielding. Reroute all remaining power to weapons. One last strike. The crew obeyed without hesitation. Lights dimmed across the ship as power drained. The tactical display showed the Dominion flagship drifting closer, wounded but still menacing. Elias leaned over Hale's console, his voice low. Aim for the core. End this. Hale swallowed hard but steadied his hands. Target locked. Fire. The Dauntless unleashed her final salvo. Torpedoes and plasma cut through the flagship's broken hull, tearing deeper, striking true. For a heartbeat, the galaxy seemed to hold its breath. Then the Dominion core detonated. A sun blossomed in the void, ripping the flagship apart. Debris scattered like shattered glass, fire boiling into black. The shockwave rattled the Dauntless, but she endured. On the bridge, silence reigned. The crew stared at the wreckage, disbelief and relief etched into every face. Hale let out a slow exhale. He's gone. Riva sank into her chair, voice soft. The Strategos is dead. Elias straightened, his gaze fixed on the burning remains. Not just dead, defeated. The Dominion has seen their predator fall. The comms lit up with intercepted transmissions from surviving enemy ships. Confusion, fear, retreat. The myth of Dominion invincibility shattered in real time. Elias keyed the broadcast system, his words carried across every open channel. This is Captain Elias Veron of the Terran ship Dauntless. Let the galaxy bear witness. Humanity does not break. We do not kneel. We fight and we endure. And we will never stop. Hours later, the fires aboard were controlled. Damaged crews patched wounds where they could. Bodies were carried out under flags, honored with quiet words. Elias walked the corridors, stopping to meet eyes, offering a nod, a hand on a shoulder, a word of thanks. Each survivor carried scars, but each one carried pride too. When he returned to the bridge, Reva waited. We've lost nearly a third of the crew. The ship won't see another battle without months of repair. Elias lowered himself into the captain's chair. He felt every ache in his bones, every weight of command. Yet his voice was steady. Then we give her that time, because she's earned it, and so have we. As the Dauntless drifted among the wreckage, her scarred silhouette framed against the dying embers of the Dominion flagship, Elias spoke quietly, almost himself. They thought us prey. They thought victory was certain. But humanity is not prey. Humanity hunts. The words lingered, carried in the silence of space, as the Dauntless turned slowly toward home, scarred, battered, but triumphant.